Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 48, the podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes, SoundCloud, and topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with a full video releasing on Friday. Catch updates about the podcast, or for other news, give us a follow on your social media platform of choice, listed in the description below. I'm your host, GM, and overseer of Podcast Five Rings Obsidian, joined tonight by the wall that will not fall, Tetsuo.
I didn't do it this time.
You didn't do what?
I don't know. Whatever you're accusing me of.
You just burnt your fish, that's all.
He didn't do it. That's what he just
Didn't
said.
do it. That's the important part.
You're just a didn't do. Or whatever. What is it? I don't know. I'm failing my memeology here. We got the Dark Fortune Duelist meta.
Don't worry, Albs. We'll get you back on track with memeology 101.
That's our first topic, right?
Yeah.
We're just gonna talk about
class
memes.
on memes.
All night.
All night we're going to talk about memes, baby.
Dude, if you did you couldn't do like it would be its own major at this point.
Like you could do a major on memes. You could easily do it.
It's just a branch of communications. That's all it is. I totally would have wasted money on that.
I majored in law and I took a minor in memeology.
Yep, there you go. And we got the resident wildcard Mal.
Greetings and salutations.
Welcome.
Hello there, Captain Spock, or whatever. Was that one of the Star Trek greetings?
I don't know.
Okay, you're just...
I don't think it was a Star Trek.
Okay.
It's just a greetings. Like
I believe it's a greeting. Yes.
You said greetings and salutations. I would hope so. It's been 2 weeks. My brain doesn't work. As I explained to the guys before we started recording, pollen has invaded. It's invaded Tennessee. It's in my lungs. It's in my nose. Flowers are breeding everywhere. It's disgusting.
All that plant sex.
Mm-hmm. All up in my business. My car is yellow now.
Yeah.
What have you guys been doing?
This week is WrestleMania week, so I've been been watching wrestling, and I'm ready to watch more wrestling. Tonight is the only night that doesn't have something wrestling related for the WWE since Monday.
Mal is ready to lock in this Sunday night.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be like 7 hours.
Is it that long?
With the kickoff show, I think it's 5. It starts at 5 o'clock.
God. What about you guys?
I don't know, man. It's been just a busy work week for me, and then I had to help my mom because she went. I actually had to chauffeur to surgery.
Cut out there. What'd you say?
I said I had to work as a chauffeur for my mom this week.
Oh.
You know when you had your car breakdown or your mom's car breakdown? That's what this.
Gotcha.
I had. It wasn't her fault. No, she just had to get some basic surgery, but they won't let her home.
Gotcha.
So, that was the start of my week, and been just pretty busy.
Tets has just been cooking fish all day.
What?
just like the last, or not last, but I guess the 30 minutes before we started.
We were saying anytime Tet says that he might be late to the podcast, he's always on time.
I know. It's a little
Which is what
weird.
he was telling me earlier.
Even early.
Yeah.
Well,
sometimes he's even
the fish
on
cooks
spot.
faster than I expected it to because the fire from the grill jumped into the cast iron skillet, and therefore when the fire goes on the fish, they cook a little faster.
It's just like, I'm okay with this turn of events.
This is clearly dangerous, but it's cooking my fish faster, so...
It was like on and off. It wasn't like it could even necessarily char anything, but it was just funny.
Are you going to sear your fish on the outside and try to contain all the juices on the inside?
So good, too. I tell you what.
And there's this cat. Look, he wants that fish, too.
He wants
God, they've been just bothering me all day about the fish.
Fish, meow.
Meow, give me fish, meow.
Hey, I'd be doing it.
Marinade I do has like garlic in it, and my cat. Sorry, tangents moment, but my cats love garlic for whatever reason. They love the smell of garlic, and they drive me nuts because we cook a lot with garlic.
Yeah.
Dude, do you like olives at all?
We don't really get them that often here, but
Just letting you know now that your cats, if you ever do get them, your cats might react to olives like they do to cats. That is a side effect.
They just go insane.
Yeah, it can happen. They will. One of my cats does that. I couldn't figure out why. She would always like get really sniffy, and then she would jump over into my lap as I got the olives there. And I'm like, "What's going on?" She would sniff it. Suddenly, she would start going. I'm like, "What the hell?" So I looked it up, and it turns out green olives, specifically green olives, although black olives can do it to a far lesser extent, can replicate for some cats, not all, for some cats, the effects of catnip. So,
Interesting.
and I love olives, so I'll sometimes bring out olives and I'll just like snack on them because they're nothing. I'll
Yeah.
snack on them, and suddenly my cat comes peeking around the corner and is like, "Hey, I heard
you
you
know
had some
about some
olives in here.
Yeah.
What's going on in this thread?"
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious.
So
All right,
good
let's
times.
get into topics here.
let's not talk about topics.
Let's talk about olives and fish. On
Yeah, let's just talk about olives and food.
We're changing the podcast format on
Podcast has
the
not changed.
fly. It's about kitty cats.
Kitty cats and the reactions
can't
to
have
food.
alliums.
Yep.
You can't let cats have onions or garlic.
That's true.
All right, you're leading us off, Meta. So, what's your first cat topic?
My first cat topic is currently on Steam and how cats are now utilizing it to play games like the people's
Like keyboard cat.
keyboard cat. They are learning and adapting to their environment. No, actually, I'm going to be talking about Steam Spy. They just released, I think quite literally yesterday, their information. Steam Spy, for those of you who don't know, essentially is this kind of like bot that tracks information on Steam, but it only tracks. But there are some like fine print of that. But the TLDR is that it tracks information on Steam, posts it up, to let you know like what people are buying, who's playing, revenue that was found in these games, and they just released their 2017 information that they actually presented at GDC 2018 this year. It was gathered during February, so we have all this information pulled out from 2017, and they have done this, I think, for like 3 years now. So they actually have 3 years of information to compare to. I'm going to get some of the obligatory fine print out of the way so that everybody knows what we're going to be talking about, which they actually call it that. I just realized. They only track owners and players, not the actual sales. It can't track DLCs or MTX. For those who don't know, that's downloadable content or microtransactions. It is technically impossible to distinguish between games sold on Steam and sold elsewhere or given away for free. So just to make note of that, for the purpose of the article, they're just measuring the market Steam controls and not the sales coming directly through Steam. It's got about a 98% confidence range, but it is very inaccurate for small games, especially ones below 30K. Geography on the Steam Spy relies on self-reported data, so only engaged users fill out the country field in their profiles. Therefore, the geo data is inevitably skewed. It means you actually say where you're from, otherwise it's not going to. It is a very poor method of tracking refunds, so will not. He didn't even release the data on that, so this will not be accounted for at all. It did use 3-day samplings, but for this one specifically, he used 10-day sampling, so it's more accurate than normal. It only uses public profiles to gather and estimate data. 99.9% of profiles on Steam are public, as posted here. Steam Spy is always lagging by at least 4 days, so it's completely inaccurate for any new titles that came out during the time this was taking off, or when he was gathering the data. So you'll have to take that as for account for anything that might have released out in February. So the first thing he talked about was just the market on it. He's talking about it's probably been one of the best years. 2017 was apparently one of the best years for Steam. Every single metric grew. Games sold, the audience, and the total revenue. They made $4.3 billion this year.
Just off games.
Yeah, just off of games.
Sales,
that's not counting
That's not
deals.
net, is it?
No, it's not net. Just off of the games.
Gotcha.
It's the total Steam revenue for paid game sales, and that's just an obviously rounded down estimate. And remember, and again, it does not count downloadable content, microtransactions, or other in-app purchases.
It's probably a lot more.
Yeah, it's probably a lot more.
Depending on the game, like even their free games have, the Team Fortress and whatnot have hats.
But Meta, where's my Skylanders on Steam?
They actually even it's funny you mentioned that, Mal, because they actually make mention of that in a little bit below where they actually talk.
Oh,
about,
really?
Yeah, they actually state that if you add in the F2P titles and add in apps purchases, you're probably looking at a total number well over 5.
Yeah, because microtransactions make a lot of money.
Oh yeah, micros. I mean, I think we've talked about
depending on the game, but yeah.
I mean, we've talked about it before, but I think microtransactions, when they first finally started getting really introduced, they tripled the gaming market.
CS:GO Go might be on top if they did.
Right.
Yeah, they're pretty big. So that being stated, in comparison to last year, it was 3.5 billion in 2016. So that's to give you an estimate comparison. That's
Still a lot.
7.7 billion more. 700 million. That's $700 million.
$700 million. I mean, it's because PUBG came out, right?
Yeah, it's
That's 600 million right there.
Yep. Obviously, of course, this all comes from Steam, so anything that came through like third-party sites and retail, they can't estimate for. So any games that they will talk about in here are only through Steam.
I do wonder how much, at least retail PC game sales are. I would think they're not that high anymore, but maybe.
I don't know. I still actually go to retail to get a lot of my games. I don't generally download them unless they're like a small file, or if it's a game I really want to have a copy of. So,
I think a lot of like GameStop and stuff stopped selling PC games and stuff though, like, or at least a lot less.
They do really anymore.
Like
the only big ones they sell are like World of Warcraft and stuff.
No, I mean the PC size area just keeps getting smaller and smaller.
Well. I was gonna say that's actually where I actually got my copy of Doom from 2016 from GameStop for the PC. So, knowing on the next part, they apparently have increased and they have more players than ever. There are 291 million total players on Steam. That's and just the public profiles. 63 that joined in 2017, which is 22% of the current total. That is definitely a lot of people
playing games.
Yeah, that also tells you that the individuals, like the age demographic in of itself, is not shrinking either.
It's also weird because just the cost of PC parts and stuff to build your own computer has actually been getting slightly more expensive.
Yeah, well,
maybe that's why.
Cryptocurrency is definitely
affected graphics
stupidly up the price of graphics cards.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
I mean, if you look at this graph, like 2012 to 2013 is where like it starts just jumping hugely. Yeah. And this year, 16 to 17 is actually like more on par with their older data. Like there's an increase, but it's not like nearly as much as the last.
It's nice and steady.
4 years before that.
Yeah, from 2012 to 2016, they went from 13,700,000 rounded down to 60,300,000. That's huge in the span of 4 years.
Yeah, this year they only went up by like 2 million, 2.5 million or whatever.
That's about equivalent to 2010 to 2011 and 2011 to.
So, I mean, I guess they're definitely slowing down, at least on the users.
There's definitely a slowdown, but I mean, it's still, ironically enough, it's still a huge amount that has
jumped a shit ton of money.
Yeah. I mean, it's been going. Steam has been out since 2003. It's 2017. This system is.
I wonder if this sort of slowdown and whatnot makes them like. Is part of the reason why they decided to get back into games, or if that has anything to do with it.
It might be. I know that there has been recently, at least within some of the podcast individuals that I listen to that are within the gaming community, have noted that Steam has kind of gone down in quality in and of itself over the past couple of years. It's hard to argue that more people have joined and say it's gone down in quality, but stuff like Steam Greenlight and Steam Direct had glaring flaws in them, and that allowed a lot of shit to get through that really should have never been on there. And then there's been people who've been trading the cards to actually make profit through like putting a game in there for nothing more than to have the card system on it, so that they could utilize those cards to make money and what. I think we've actually talked about that whenever.
Yeah, I think we briefly at one point
Fantastic,
touched upon
yeah.
the proliferation of bad Steam games and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean, but even regardless of all that, the fact that this is the first year it's slowed down, I don't know if that's just finally people catching up with it, or if it's because, as you stated, prices for the graphics cards going up. Although I will admit something on this, I've looked at some of the more recent graphic cards, and I don't think they're that high, at least from what I remember.
I don't think they've like skyrocketed, but they have gone up.
They've gone up enough that like I know whatever the Nvidia and all of them were like, yeah, we're trying to really work on production levels because
wasn't there something
it's
with
hard to
like
get cards,
something with like a shipping thing or something where the stuff they make them with, or this is what my buddy was telling me. I don't
a few years ago, and I don't remember what year, but there was an issue where essentially a number of shipping between from overseas and whatnot. There was essentially not an embargo, but there was a strike for the individuals who did all that work, and that caused a lot of issues.
Yeah, there's just like less of a supply of them, basically.
Yeah, there was definitely a loss of supply for both, I believe, produce and commercial
I need a
items.
new graphics card really bad. I have like a 12-year-old one, and it's still kicking, buddy. It's still hanging in there, and it plays stuff pretty well.
Dude, you realize if your graphics card is 12 years old, you realize that it's only 2 years younger than the start and the release of Steam.
It's old man. It's an old man.
So back in January, Nvidia had to speak up about the GPUs prices and whatnot because their GTX 1060 went from $400 to $800.
Yeah, I remember that. That was bullshit.
So, yeah.
The 1060 should have not jumped up double the price. But yeah, I mean, it's they do make mention that new users by years, 57 million people have been playing anything on Steam in the last 2 weeks when they took their data. It's smaller than most single games like Minecraft or League of Legends, but I mean that's pretty huge. The fact that
some, not people, most.
Yeah.
The really big games.
Yeah,
it's still smaller than, but
I mean that's
there's not very many.
Grand Theft Auto,
57 million people playing on a platform is pretty freaking big.
Grand Theft Auto, is this year or overall these game numbers?
I mean we'll get down to
sold 3.5 million copies this year.
Yes.
Holy
Grand Theft
moly.
Auto. Well, that's why
it's a big game
service are so popular.
Yes, that is absolutely why.
Because they make you money. That's because all they've done. They haven't done any single player DLC. They keep putting stuff out for Grand Theft Auto Online. And so it keeps making the money.
It also helps the fact that you've got platforms like Steam who have great retention. This is actually another thing they point out in the article itself.
This is only on Steam, yeah.
The retention is amazing. They have 57 million players active in the last 2 weeks, and that's 31% of the active players that joined in 2017. So of the 22, I think, million that joined in or something, or the 22% that went up by, 31% of that, almost 1/3, if not 1/3, you may as well argue, stay on it, continuing to play that for a period of 2 weeks. That's insane.
Yeah.
It helps that it's the hardware thing, so it doesn't care. But the retention has gone down though in the years. If you look at the chart on Steam Spy, you'll notice that retention by year 2003 at 25.
Yeah, it starts to fall around the time where they start getting huge groups of members.
Yep. And then when you get around to 2011, 2012, 2013, it keeps going down and down and down. I mean, that's going to happen. You have a lot of people who are going to jump on, but the retention's going to reduce. But you have people. It's still more people.
It's still all positive.
Yeah, it's all positive. Great. The very fact that they had at certain points in their lifespan up above 20% retention is insane. That's huge. However, this is actually something I found out that was really interesting. I didn't know they were going to do this. Apparently, new users buy less. New players are essentially going in, getting on the platform, but they're buying less games than older accounts. So anybody who joined in 2017 were effectively as a median average, were buying one game, but on the mean average, 3 point.
Yeah.
But that's incredible to think that like your average person is essentially just buying one game.
Well, look at
I think that
people's
could
huge
also
collections.
I think that could also play into the fact that games are now marketing or moving to games as a service thing, like PUBG, which is like one game, but it's something someone plays, or that's all they play.
Yeah.
It was really funny too, because if you think about that, that's actually something that's been done more overseas, and specifically China, Japan, Korea. I think to a lesser extent the Philippines, but could be wrong. That is something that's actually not uncommon. Is that there is generally you pick up a game and you tend to just play that game. That's actually something I have read articles with, and I've actually talked with people from those countries for a few games, because I used to play Planet something, Fantasy Star Online 2, and that was something that I got the chance to speak with a few of the Japanese that were playing the game. And then there's been like games like I remember what it was called, Gunblade or something like that, or Gun Wars. It was something.
Squally and hard the game.
It was a Korean based game, but that was also a thing that I got to talk to some Koreans who knew English in there. This was years ago, but I got to talk about them, and it was interesting to at least ask them, like, so it was like, this is the only game you play? And the general answer was yes, the only thing they play. They would come home or do whatever they did, and they would get up and just play. And that was
no, it was Gungrave.
Gungrave? No, not.
It's actually it's an actual game now.
I don't think it's Gungrave.
Sword Art Online is real life.
No, it's not Gungrave. Definitely not Gungrave. But I mean, this is interesting, and as you're right, you just say, Mao, it's kind of cool. It's odd, but at the same time, it's interesting to see that we're now starting to move towards that service, which means people are just dedicating themselves to less and less games.
Yeah, and those are like the big games on Twitch and stuff too. Are always those kind of games. So
yeah,
makes sense.
I mean, it's if you look at the chart below, you can see like the median games by year. In 2013, you had 15, in 2071. But I mean, if you look at the median number, it still shows it only still translates for those years. It still only translates about one game per year, ironically. So even while you might have somebody who's got like 15 games, at like in 2003, might have people with like 15 games, they would still technically really play one a year.
Although on average, I've probably bought more than. I mean, I have bought more than that, but still.
I mean, you got the Steam summer sale, the Steam winter sale, the Christmas sale, and whatnot. I mean,
it's what all my friends will just go. I bought like 10 games on Steam sale. I'm like, dude, I just know I won't play some of those, so I'm not going to waste.
I can't remember the last game I bought on Steam.
I
may have been.
I bought Guilty Gear a few weeks ago.
Did you buy Divinity 2?
I got that through Kickstarter.
Oh, shit. Well then, yeah. I don't know.
Might be Baldur's Gate 2.
We should all open up our Steam libraries and say how many games we have. That
I
way
know
the audience can judge us.
The most recent game I just picked up was PixArt. I did it to play with a friend.
It's all right, Meta. We won't judge you.
I'm so upset with myself, but I said I would play a game with them of their choice, any game they want, and they say PixArt, and I looked at it and it was like it's still in alpha, and I was like, son of a bitch. But I dropped the money on it, and I'm so upset.
I only have 13 games in my library.
I promised, and I kept through with my promise.
You only have well, I guess with your graphics card. That's another reason I haven't bought a lot of computer games.
Yeah, if I invested in a new graphics card, I'd probably be more incentivized to invest in more games. But
I also like just playing on a large TV.
Playing on a large TV is great.
That's why you hook it up to a large TV.
Because then you can go and sit anywhere in the room and you can play the game and it won't matter. But on a smaller TV, you have to be like...
I'll say this. A lot of games don't make their text grow. Once you put it like on a bigger TV, the text still stays the same size and I still find myself squinting to read stuff. That drives me nuts.
I remember the first game I bought on Steam, Dust and Elysian Tale.
It's a good game.
Oh my god,
it is. It's freaking good, dude.
Holy
I love that game.
Shit. Dude,
it's got furries, but it's good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a really good game.
I won't kink shame you, Obs.
Thank you, Mal. I'm glad you understand.
That game looked so interesting.
It's really good.
They have, however, this is actually really cool. More games have been released than ever. There are 21,406 games on Steam, probably more now.
That's a bad number.
and that's 7,696 of them were released in 2017.
Yes.
39% of all titles. This is going to go, I'm going to just say this right now. This goes right back to Steam Greenlight and Steam Direct as being issues.
Yeah, this is a problem.
Yeah.
Because they have no sort of quality control.
There is no QA.
Where's your standards, Valve?
It's
how many of those were just asset flips?
Yes. How much? Yes. That's pretty much what it was. A lot of them are asset flips. If you go onto Steam right now and try to search for a game of a specific type, it's actually a very hard to find something that is of quality while still matching your criteria. I know, because I have tried searching for a very specific game.
That's why I stick to very popular games on Steam.
It's really hard. And
I almost never look for something new on Steam. It's usually something I already knew about.
If you look at the front page of Steam, you'll often see a lot of the same games end up getting recycled back through when they're starting to get downtime and there's not a new stuff that came out. You'll see games like Ark Survival come back up, or PUBG get thrown back to the front because those games are trending and hot and always going on. And you'll notice that when you do searches, those games will tend to come up at the top, and you'll find a lot of the same games are the most popular ones that come at the top, obviously. But when you really start trying to dig into Steam, you'll find it's just a lot of crap for the foundation of the games that are actually worthwhile. And you'll realize that even though they've got this huge number, there's actually really only a small amount of good game in there. So this actually is a problem. But and this is kind of where this is kind of where it's funny, because Steam sales are heavily skewed at the top. The top 100 game, and that's 0.5% of all titles, accounted for 50% of all revenue on Steam in 2017.
Because there's only so many AAA games that come out a year.
Yeah.
And there's only so many of even the AAA games that are good.
Yeah, there you go.
Or that are even on PC.
And that goes right back to the issue of why all of these 21,000 games and 0.5% of them account for 50% of all the revenue. That's insane. And we'll go over those games right now. We're going to look at top 20. Public Player Unknown Battlegrounds is obviously at the highest with $600 million revenue.
It sold almost 28 million copies, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you have Counter-Strike Global Offensive at 120 million. Grand Theft Auto 5 at 83. And then from there, we plummet down to 41 million with Call of Duty World War II, Sid Meier's Civilization, Witcher 3, Wild Hunt was actually number 6. Here's my favorite number on this list. Divinity Original Sin 2 sold for 37 million and 1,004,000 copies. That is an indie game backed by Kickstarter.
Yep.
The fact that is number 7 on this list is amazing.
It's so good. Divinity 2 is so good.
It's also getting a console release now.
Yep. Well, it was always getting it, but they actually finalized it.
I just saw someone report on it today.
Yeah. I have my gripes with the game for certain things, but
for what it is.
Yeah, for what it is, it's bloody amazing. Oh my god. And I've been playing through that game on stream with 3 other buddies right now, and that's been an absolute blast with all of us just controlling our one character like it's a tabletop game, and still fighting and trying to strategize how to do things together. It's probably been some of the most fun. Is saying because I'll ask my buddies hey, you cast haste on me, and then I can use my free action to cast haste on you, and we can save an action point to try to utilize to beat our enemies. The strategy is just really fun. It's absolutely fun. Followed by that is TC Ghost Recon Wildlands, Total War Warhammer 2. I was actually surprised by that.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised it was so popular.
Yeah, it's actually very popular. I didn't think that was going to take off as well as it did, but it.
The release model has been a little weird with the way they've been releasing the it's sort of got 2 games I don't know.
Yeah,
they did it weird.
I know what you mean. It's kind of because they had Total Warhammer 1, and this game is an addition to that game, but it's also its own game. It's really weird. Then you've got Middle-earth Shadow of War, and then you have another Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. For some of you who love this game, will be Nier Automata. Then you have Ark Survival Evolved, which is another indie game, which is really cool to see. They actually that game has done well.
an ongoing
Yep.
early access game. Are
Ongoing
they
early
out
access.
of early access yet?
I believe they are out of early access
Okay.
now.
I mean, it's been out for so long, I just haven't
Yeah.
kept up with it.
I think it is out of early access now on whatnot. They just released Pix Arc, which is what I was just talking about.
Oh, I see.
But thankfully, they at least have a track record.
Yeah.
After that is one of my personal favorites, For Honor, ranked number 14. Even if I'm salty about certain things, but fighting game salt is always involved. No surprise there is Assassin's Creed's Origin at 15. It was a wonderful game.
It did come out near the end of the year, so being on that list is fairly impressive.
Yeah, I mean that's you're absolutely right. A lot of people did like the Egyptian theme as well.
Yeah.
So
Apparently, it's like one of their best too.
Yeah,
I mean, they finally waited like 2 years to release it.
They finally took time with one of those
Right.
games. After that is Resident Evil 7, which I'm very glad to see on this list because Resident Evil 7 is great. Seriously.
I wish it was third person.
It's like one of the best games. It seriously is one of the best games. It feels so Resident Evil. It's wonderful. I promise. If you want a horror game that has your campiness and the love of it clearly put back into it, get freaking Resident Evil.
All my buddies are playing Vermintide, and I can't play it because it's first person only.
So I forgot.
Yeah, I heard that's really good.
Dark Souls 3 is on here.
It was really good.
It's really good. Rocket League was on here. That's another one.
That's another like.
It'll probably perpetually be on here.
Probably. I mean, they've sold 818,000 copies.
And it's been out for a while.
Yeah, it's been out for a while too, but it's still up there. Here's something I'm really surprised by: Football Manager 2018.
Our game is huge.
Yeah, outside of the U.S., it's very big.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not know.
It's like one of it and FIFA are like the two biggest games outside of America.
I mean,
probably.
FIFA kept the PS2 around for like until
yeah.
I can't even remember how long. Like that was like the last game to be made for the PS2 was like a FIFA game.
And then for the ending part here, glorious Cuphead.
It's good.
Yep. It's a good game. People like it, even as niche and hard as it is. It's still the 20th on there.
Yeah, it's a fun game.
That's just the top 20 games of mine. There is technically 80 more games out there that account for the remainder of that 50% total. So
yeah.
They're not all that surprising. The top 10 games were very safe. There's about 22 million gross revenue was required to break into Steam's top 20, and 22 million revenue was required to break into Steam top 20 in 2016. So it's not changed between 2017 and 2016. It's the same. So these games are probably not going in. What is more interesting is that sales are going down, at least in regards to when it comes to indie games. Specifically, more so than just games in general. Prices are going down, however, with them. So it's kind of interesting to see that is like even though the sales are going down, prices are going down with them to try to match.
Unfortunately, I think you have to in that data includes all the crappy games.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
So I mean that's probably part of it because indie games can't advertise. No. So to find indie games on Steam, you've got to go through a lot of crap, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, a lot of crap. I'm not joking when I say that is a fight. Just get yourself a nice glass of wine, maybe a nice dinner to go with it.
Make a night of it.
Yeah, make a night of it because you're gonna have to. You want to wade through that war zone. You need to set aside a time. It's not doing bad though. I mean, the gross revenue to break in Steam's top 2,000 was 150K in 2017, and that changed. That's 10K less than 2016, which was 160K. So honestly, they're not doing bad, even with the changes in the sales and the prices going down. But it is reducing in like what is required to get into those top 2,000. Indie games obviously have gone up, but it can't keep up with growth. If you can see that in the chart on there used to be 2,149 indie games in 2015 and are 13,624 indie games in 2018, and still can't keep up. Most of them, obviously, a big chunk of those are just games that suck or just to flip, money. So that's unfortunate. They get stuck thrown into there, but that's all you can do.
Yep.
However, I mean, they did say in the beginning though that certain games below a certain profit level don't really get tracked because they're not really easy.
Or at least not tracked accurately.
Yes. So
we'll say one thing that I think is interesting about this particular graph is at regular intervals there's a peak. It looks like there's a time of year.
Yeah.
Maybe the big sale. Probably a big sale.
It looks like it happens. It looks like it's less so a time of year because if you look at the bottom of it, you can see.
Oh yeah, no, that's
It's right
like the
about
middle of the month.
Yeah,
just after the middle of the month every month or so.
Every couple of months because it goes like 07, 2015, 10, 2015.
Oh right, yeah, this isn't monthly. It's like
so it looks like every few couple of months they just spike.
I mean that makes it's every like quarter, which makes sense because they have like quarterly Steam sales.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
That's probably what it is.
Yeah. So, and then new games by month. If you look at that chart, it skyrockets around 2013. In 2013, Greenlight came out around 2013-03.
And that it starts to grow.
Suddenly 07, and then when it kicks into gears 09, and then 2013-11, then you get to 2014, and then suddenly 2014-03, you get spikes going up, and then it just skyrockets. It's exponential.
Yeah, with Direct. Just
yeah, Direct is huge. The moment that came out, that thing exploded so quick. Yeah, it's for better or for worse. But it just came out. So, Direct versus Greenlight is an interesting one. 7,696 games released in 2017. 864 of those games were released in September 2017 alone. 55% average month-over-month increase in number of new releases since Steam Direct. I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, with Direct, I mean, is very clearly not something that was good because it suddenly allowed people to just jump in there with games. Greenlight was good, but it could have been a better utilized system, but at least required people to greenlight it to say like, okay, you can be sold here because a lot of people are okaying it. Direct is just skipping a fair amount of that, and it's now just allowing people to get it right in. So, my favorite chart right here is going to be games in 2017 by Max Price. I like these charts a lot because it's going to be followed by my other favorite chart, which is revenue by Max Price, with and without PUBG. In 2017, we see games that were sold. The most games that sold were actually around $9.99 or $10. Is essentially a sweet spot for a lot of those indie game loves that sold around 4,579 games. Only 96 or $59.99. 49.99 saw 108, and then it kind of just increases. Everything kind of increases from the high end right till $10, and then once you get to 4.99. It starts to kind of go up and down as you get to eventually games. I am surprised by those numbers based on that fact that 2017, like only 96 games were released for that price. That's only 96 of them, but I guess it makes sense as well. So,
yeah.
Revenue, however, the highest revenue. Max price in 2017 is actually at $29.99, taking up 25% of.
I wonder why.
I wonder why too. So, for those of you who don't know, that might be because PUBG is around that price range, and they kind of only had like 600,000 above like the second place person in sales and whatnot. So you can, or not 600 million, 600,000 million amount over there. So. You can get that. However, second place was actually $19.99 or $20, and then third place is picked off by the $60 price range at $16.87 and $15.9, respectively. Without PUBG, however, suddenly the $29.99 range rockets down to $13.70, and the king is the $20 range, leading just slightly over the $60 range, a difference of 1%, with 19 being the $20 and 18 being $60, which I thought was very interesting. Because it shows us, this is actually probably my favorite one, only because it kind of shows us that, barring PUBG, because that's a phenomenon in and of itself, a lot of people are buying games either for the $60 price range or for the $25 price. The prices that are closest are the $15 range and the $30 range, coming almost quite literally 0.28% different in each other's price range, and it kind of just falls down from there for the $10 range and the $50. But $60 and the $20 are really interesting because it seems like that seems to be numbers that people really don't mind, and I'm interested. I really want to see like more statistics come out, like why those two price ranges succeed so well. That is something I want to. And then we go into like a Steam hardware survey, which shows that 64% Steam users speak Chinese. And
China's a big place.
It's a big place. Last I've heard, pretty large in size. I believe, as a famous man once said in Princess Bride, never start a land war in Asia. And that will be the reason why. There's a lot of people there. 18% of Steam users speak English. So, and that's, mind you, the Steam hardware survey only covers Australia, China, the UK, and all of North America, not counting Mexico or Central America.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's actually a pretty big amount. Obviously, there's other people in there, but not enough that they were able to pull that information from the hardware survey reported. And as a note, though, Steam is technically not officially available in China. They're only allowed to operate in Hong Kong. So, of course, obviously players from mainland China will say, I disagree, and still play Steam games anyway.
Yeah.
China players and games, they actually start going a little bit more about like what China is and some of the information. I don't leave that alone because then they do a comparison to the US. I mean, really what it comes down to is that on average, a user from China, the USA owns 6 times more games than an average user from China. But as a comparison, if you were to look at the PUBG numbers, at least for PUBG, USA has about 7 hours average per week in PUBG, whereas China has about 16 hours average per week in PUBG. They really like the player. The highest indie countries are both by players and spending on indie games, USA, for both categories. However, by player is China for second place, and by spending is Germany. I mean, you can check out the charts for yourself. You really want to see some of these numbers. It's more about just like comparisons of USA. And that's kind of where it pretty much ends off at. They've got a summary at the bottom if you just want the TLDR of everything. But I thought this was really interesting to see the numbers that have come out for Steam, to see how even though there has been a continuous rise of individuals in it, and there's more people on Steam than ever before, that their sales and their revenue haven't really changed all that much. Even with the changes in the amount of games that have been released, because I mean, again, there's 21,000 on right now, and 39% of them were just released last year. So that's pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
We also know that's partly because of Steam Direct coming right in and blowing open doors for everybody's throw. It's a fascinating read.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested to see how the trends continue, I guess.
We'll just have to wait till the next one's inevitably released. And CSGO and PUBG are still on top.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's Fortnite. That's free to play.
Oh yeah, Fortnite
has been doing exceptionally well ever since the publicity stunt. They have.
I mean, it was already on top. It was basically starting to eclipse PUBG before even that.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that it's free to play, I think, also helps a lot.
Yeah,
it probably does.
And It's a more style. I mean, yeah, it's more stylized than PUBG and stuff. But yeah,
There's definitely things on it that people like over.
I expect that to really just get bigger and bigger.
Yep. Maybe somebody else will eventually come along and out them.
Oh, I'm sure something else will come along eventually.
No king rules forever.